Merhaba arkadaşlar. Hi guys, welcome back to Learn Turkish the Easy Way channel. This is another live session on random topics that I promise you to have really randomly without any expectation in advance. So sometimes just a specific topic comes up in my mind and I want to share it quickly with you. These are usually shorter topics than grammar sessions. So I just spend around 15-20 minutes to explain this and just disappear, basically speaking. So I also chose this specific time during day to test different time kind of conditions, because I usually stream in the evenings, of course Istanbul time, but today I just decided to make it live a bit earlier to see how many participants we have in general. So I'm still testing with the time zones, but we will find some balance on the go, I think. So what is today's topic? Today's topic is how and when we use bu, şu, o in Turkish language. I'm sure many people have confusion about their roles, as well as the meanings, as well as the placement of use in daily language. So we will cover this very shortly, and I hope you will not have any questions about this anymore in your future, in the future about this kind of a topic. So let's see what they all mean, especially through the structure, grammar structure, as well as the examples. Now, let me first kind of mention at the beginning that bu, şu, o are used for two different purposes. The first one is that they are used as demonstrative pronouns, and the second, they are used as demonstrative adjectives. Demonstrative pronouns act as a subject, and they can get all case endings as nouns, like dative case, accusative case, right? Ablative case, locative case endings, all those 8 endings, including the possessive endings and other endings. Demonstrative pronouns they are acted as a subject, basically as a noun, therefore they can get all these endings as the nouns get. When it comes to demonstrative adjectives, they only act as a word preceding a noun, so they are really adjectives, okay? Now, before we go and explain these two big kind of roles of bu, şu, o, let's look at their meaning first. Now, for bu, what will be the most kind of the closest meaning in English? It's very simple. It's this, okay? This. Bu is this, and there is no even variation or difference between what it really means. What about o? Okay, let me also put o first before şu, because şu has a bit. Let me first put it a bit down for you kids so you don't see it. Okay, so what about, let me write shu here. Okay, shu. What about o? Let's first cover o. O is that, okay, that, and that's also very simple. What about shu? All of these 3 basically are used depending on what? Depending on the distance. Okay, and şu here is a bit something between this and that. In Turkish, bu, şu, o are usually used in context depending on the distance between what you want to point to. Okay, so bu is this, it's very clear. Like, for example, this is what I want. This is beautiful. Okay, so bu is very clear. O is also clear. O is that. But when it comes to şu, it is something in between in terms of distance. For example, imagine you are in the bookstore. Okay, in the bookstore, and you ask the library, the person, "Hi, Erica." So imagine you ask a person, the salesman in the bookstore, to give you the book which is in front of you. Okay, in front of you. If something is in front of you, it's very close to you, you will use bu, okay, bu. But if something is very distant from you, like for example, maybe 10 meters from you, or very distant in terms of the kind of a perception, then you will use o. If something is between very distant and very close, then you will use şu. Okay. So for example, 2-3 meters, maybe you can't reach it by your hand. So your hand is you're a bit distant from it, but both of you see, right? The salesman and you also see the book, which one you want. So it's not very distant, but it's not very close to you too. So you will say şu, not o, or not bu, because it's not close to you. So şu is something in between, okay? So it's something between this and that. So let me put still that, because that is much closer to that, okay, in terms of meaning. But let me kind of put a definition here as something between this, okay, this and that. And the best approximate to English will be again that, okay, because it's not very close to you. Therefore, if you really want to know what şu means, the closest meaning of şu will be that, not this, okay, because şu or o have a bit more proximity, hi Fabiola, more kind of a closeness than bu. So as a rule, it all depends on the context. Bu is very clear. Bu is something in front of you, okay? You don't have to point it distantly. So bu is here. It's in front of you. O is very distant. Therefore, you probably point to that thing using your hand, okay? Give me o kitabı verir misin? Okay? O kitabı. But şu is something that is very close to you, but not necessarily very close, but not necessarily very also distant. But in essence, if you really want to translate whether şu really means closer to this or that, of course şu is closer to the meaning of that rather than this, okay? Now let's go back and talk one more thing before we continue with this 1 and 2. Before we continue with demonstrative pronouns and demonstrative adjectives, there is also one exception to o, okay? Let me also write that. O also means what? Also is also a personal pronoun, which means what? He, right? She, and it. So here it is a personal pronoun, not a demonstrative or adjective. Okay, so personal pronoun. So that O specifically is a very exception, because apart from meaning that, it also has a personal pronoun meaning he, she, it. Okay, just as a note, as a side note, and nothing else. So let's go and now see how we use demonstrative pronouns bu, şu, o, as well as demonstrative adjectives bu, şu, o. So let's go with the demonstrative pronouns. Here, as we said, right, it can mean what? Bu means basically this, right? Bu, just put an enter here. Bu is this. And it can also be plural, okay? So it can also be bunlar, which will be meaning these, okay? Bunlar. For şu, it means, let's say, again, it's something in between, okay? So something between this and that, but I don't write it here. So let's still write it here, okay? Let's still write it as that and make it a bit mean what? Which can also be plural, şunlar, okay? Which is those. And then we have also o, which means that, and again transformed as what? As those, if you make it plural, okay? Onlar will be again those. So these 6 are used as pronouns. So you can say bu güzel. For example, if I ask you which book is nice, is nicer, okay? You can say bu daha güzel, okay? So let's go. Okay, just a second. Let's go with examples. What is this? Okay. So what do we have with this? I'm kind of a bit sick with the symmetry, so bear with me when I have to deal with this kind of a symmetric issues. So bu is this, bunlar is these. Şu is basically something between this and that, but mostly that. And şunlar means those. O means that, and onlar means those. But at the same time, don't forget that onlar also is a personal pronoun, same as o over here. Remember here? So onlar, we have to add it here too. Onlar, right, is they. Then it becomes personal pronoun if we use it as a personal pronoun. They come, right? But here it means those. So you can say, for example, if I bu kimin, okay? Bu kimin. If you ask whose is this, okay? Bu kimin, it really means a demonstrative pronoun, okay? Whose is this? Bu kimin. You can say as a response, bu benim. This is mine, or it is mine, okay? Mine. Or you can say, okay, let's move on. Or you can say, for example, don't forget that we can add endings, right? The case endings. Let's add ending to this. Bunu kim yaptı? Bunu kim yaptı? So bunu kim yaptı? Who did? This is of course accusative case, right? Because bu, bunu, I, u, ü endings added to the nouns or pronouns, it becomes dative case. So the accusative case. Who did this? Okay, who did this? Bunu kim yaptı? You don't say bu kim yaptı, right? Bunu kim yaptı? Because this accusative case, bunu kim yaptı? Or you can say onu verir misin? Okay. Sorry. Onu verir misin? Onu verir misin? What is a kind of request? Could you please give me that? Okay. Could you give me that? Of course, me here is assumed. Okay, there is no me, but onu verir misin? Could you give that? Could you give me that? Okay. So here you see bu, şu, o are used as demonstrative pronouns. Okay, not adjectives or anything less. So you can use them as bu, şu, şunlar. Okay, and so on. So the second use of bu, şu, o is not the pronouns but adjectives. And here, of course, they really mean adjective. They used as adjective, right? Of course, they are used before the nouns, before to describe something. So you can say bu kitap, okay, which is this book. Bu kitap ilginç. Okay, I'm tired of changing the keyboard. Bu kitap ilginç. This book is interesting. Okay, you see, when we use bu, şu, o as demonstrative adjectives, you cannot make them plural. You cannot say bunlar kitap, right? Because bu, şu, or u here are used as adjectives, and they are not getting any plural ending. It's only bu, şu, o, and there are no other versions of demonstrative adjectives. Bu, şu, or o. Bu kitap ilginç. This book is interesting. Şu, for example, you can say you point to some table which is a bit distant from you, right? Şu masa boş. So for example, you came to the restaurant and you're looking for empty table, right? And you have seen some closer one to you. You can say şu masa boş. Okay, that table is empty. Okay. Or what about o? Or you can say o insanı, or let's say o kitabı which is accusative case, right? Not kitap, kitabı sevmedim. O kitabı sevmedim. I didn't like that book. You see? So just for simplicity purpose, şu and o will be usually translated into English as that and bu as this. Okay, and we have only 3 demonstrative adjectives. They are all same in pronunciation, of course, but they have different roles. In personal pronouns, we can have plurals too, right? These, these, then that, those. Here we have to use them only as bu, şu, o, and we always use them as adjectives in front of nouns to describe something. Okay. Let's give a couple more examples, and we are done with the topic. Basically, this is very simple. Okay. O kitabı sevmedim. Bu kalem. Okay. Bu araba çalışmıyor. This car doesn't work. What about şu? Şu kitabı uzatır mısın? Şu kitabı verir misin? Okay, şu kitabı verir misin? Could you please give me that book that you see probably very distant, not distantly, but very not close to you? Okay, şu kitabı verir misin? Could you give? Şu kitabı verir misin lütfen? Let's make it please too. Okay. Lütfen. Could you please give? Of course, me is assumed here. Could you please give me that book? And the last one, let's examine one more example for o as an adjective. O toplantıya katılmadım. O toplantıya, toplantı is meeting. A toplantıya means to meeting, okay, which is a dative case. We add a ending here, toplantıya, to meeting. O toplantıya katılmadım. I didn't attend. Katılmak is to attend, okay. I didn't attend that meeting. Of course, in Turkish it means to that meeting. That's why we have dative case, right? O toplantıya, to that meeting. I didn't attend that meeting or to that meeting, which is verbal translation. So you basically here point to meeting as, and that here is an adjective. Okay. Yes, exactly. Fabiola, you're struggling with this accusative case, right? Yes, Enes. So şu kitaplar is correct, exactly correct. If, for example, you are in the library, right, and you ask the librarian to give you the books that are a bit distant from you, but it's not very distant, right? You can say şu kitaplar çok güzel. Ben onları okudum. I have read them. They are very nice books. Şu kitaplar. You can point to them if they are not necessarily very distantly from you, but if they are not very close to you. Okay, something in between. Şu kitaplar çok güzel. So that's basically it about the bu, şu, o. As a summary, let's summarize. Bu, şu, o can be used either as a demonstrative pronoun, okay, like here, demonstrative pronouns, and they can also be plural, same as in English. Bu can be bunlar, şu will be şunlar, and o will be onlar. Or bu, şu, o can be used as also demonstrative adjectives, where they are used to describe specific nouns, but they cannot be plural. It's only bu, şu, o, and they just used as adjectives. Their role is to mean an adjective role. Okay, and of course, don't forget that again for o, it also means personal pronoun he, she, it, and onlar means they, as a personal pronoun plural, right? Third person plural is onlar. That is basically it about bu, şu, o. So never confuse them. It's very simple to distinguish them. The only thing that other languages maybe don't have, and what Turkish has, is şu here. That's the only exception from other languages. Şu is just something used in between, okay, in terms of distance. And by the way, certain people can understand something as very close and say bu, and certain people can understand something distant as not very distant but say şu. So it's okay, it's not necessarily a very big issue if you say şu instead of u, instead of o, okay? So just because you consider something a bit closer than distant doesn't mean you are wrong, okay? For you it might be şu, not really o. So don't don't feel kind of embarrassed or bad about using them. But the difference between bu and o is very huge, okay? There may not be very huge difference between şu and o, but there is definitely this difference between bu and o, because they are different things. Bu is really in front of you, it's very close, and o is distant from you, very distant from you, which is distant kind of in terms of physical distance, okay? So that's it about the topic. I hope you enjoyed it. If you don't have any questions, let me wait for 1 minute. If you have any questions, please let me know about this topic in the chat. If not, I'll probably finish it, because the purpose of this short random topics is to make it simple, short, like 15-20 minutes. Yeah, in Spanish, esto, eso, aquello, yes, most probably. Şu veya şunlar, yes, şu veya şunlar insanlar içinde kullanabiliriz, evet. Exactly. You can say şu çocuk, for example, şu çocuk, right? You really point to that person which is not necessarily very close to you, but also not very distant to you. So you can still use it for persons too. Şu çocuk. Not o çocuk, but şu çocuk. Okay, şu çocuk. Or şunlar. You can still point to people using şunlar. It's okay. There is no problem with that. As long as you understand the difference between the distances, okay, where they are appropriate, it's okay to use them for people too. Yes, şunlar. But something that in terms of the context, if you really want to say in terms of context which one şu and şunlar is usually used for, şu is usually used for as an adjective, okay, more to use as a demonstrative adjective rather than a demonstrative pronoun. So for people, we tend to use o, okay, mostly o rather than şu, but it doesn't mean if you use it for people it is wrong. It is still okay. Okay, it's not wrong. It's not grammatically wrong. It's not. It's just in practice. It's just used a bit less. That's it. But you can still use them. Rica ederim. Any other questions? Anything? So is it clear the topic itself? I hope it's very kind of, you should not have any confusion at all after this moment. It's very straightforward. Okay. That's it. All right. Erica, Fabiola, Enes, you are one of those, among those regular participants. Fabiola, we will solve your accusative case issue. Don't worry. Over time, you will kind of get used to that accusative case. I think the more we give more examples, the more it will be stabilized and understood. So bear with us for a while until we cover more and more topics, more and more examples. It will be much clearer. Okay. Thank you too for participating. Have a nice day. Enjoy your weekend. Our next live session will be tomorrow, and tomorrow night, Saturday night, we'll cover present continuous tense. Yesterday we covered present tense, simple present tense. Tomorrow night we will cover present continuous tense. Okay? So yarın görüşürüz. See you tomorrow. Enjoy the weekend. Bye bye guys.